phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
The most prestigious individual award in college football is the Heisman Trophy. The 2022 Heisman Trophy winner was USC quarterback Caleb Williams. Williams, in his Heisman campaign, threw for a total of 4,537 yards while completing 66% of his passes, 42 touchdowns to the air compared to only 5 interceptions, while also accounting for a total of 10 rushing touchdowns on the ground. And heading into the 2023 college football season, Caleb Williams is the betting favorite to repeat and win the Heisman Trophy. But today's video is not about him. Instead, today's video is going to be about the Heisman dark horses heading into the 2023 college football season. And if you do not know what a Heisman dark horse is, to put it in simple terms, it's the players who are not really expected to be the betting favorites. They may have some odds to be a Heisman winner, but they're not particularly high. And more cases than not, you're going to expect them to have good seasons, but not be a Heisman finalist. Before I move on with the video, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. The first player that I'm going to be talking about in today's video that I believe is a Heisman dark horse for the 23 season is Ole Miss running back Quinnshon Judkins. Judkins, as a true freshman running back in 2022, really broke out onto the scene and cemented himself as a top 10 running back during that collegiate season. As in 13 games played for the Rebels, he rushed the ball 274 times, rushing for 1,567 yards, averaging nearly 6 yards a carry, and had 16 total touchdowns on the ground. In my opinion, if he stays healthy, of course, I believe that Judkins is going to shock a lot of people in the 23 season. I believe he has a lot of potential to have a bigger campaign as a sophomore than he did as a freshman, which can definitely be a reach in some people's eyes as he had a really good freshman campaign, but I believe he's going to turn it up even more. He's clearly the focus of that offense coming back from 22 to 23 for that Ole Miss offense, which you may not always think for Lane Kiffin offenses with their running backs, but Quinnshon Judkins, he is a different beast. He had a great freshman campaign against some of the top SEC defenses and teams week in and week out, and I believe he's only going to improve in 2023, and he's going to have a monster season. And of course, that's just my opinion, but if he does everything the correct way, there's probably a good chance that we see Judkins as a Heisman finalist, of course if he stays healthy and truly improves on his game from 22 to 23. Staying in the SEC with this next player, I'm going to be talking about Tennessee quarterback Joe Milton. Now, this is going to be Joe Milton's presumably first season as a full year starting quarterback on the collegiate level. As in 2023, he's expected to be the starting quarterback for the Vols, and there's a lot of hype surrounding Milton's name going into the season as someone that could potentially really put it all together, become a potential first-round pick, a top SEC quarterback, and maybe even a Heisman finalist if everything really goes as planned and as well as some people think it might. As in 2022, he's coming off his best season of his collegiate career. He was a backup to Hendon Hooker, but he had a great season as a backup as he completed 65% of his passes, threw for 971 yards, 10 touchdowns to the air compared to 0 interceptions. Not to mention, he is coming off a great bowl game win versus Clemson in which he had 3 touchdowns through the air while throwing for a total of 251 yards. I do feel like there is some gray area heading into the season for Milton with Tennessee, as yes, we saw him really improve as a quarterback in 2022, especially in this really favorable offense for quarterbacks, a very high-flying, explosive, high-scoring offense that is the Tennessee Volunteers that they have right now. But we haven't really seen Milton as a full season starter in quite some time. The last season he really got some run as a starter was in 2020 with Michigan, in which he did have his fair share of ups and downs, with 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions, while throwing for 1,077 yards in 6 games played. I ultimately believe that Milton's going to have a really good season for Tennessee in 2023, and I believe the potential is there to make a serious run at becoming a Heisman finalist, and who knows, if he really puts it all together and Tennessee is a top SEC team, maybe even a playoff team, he may even push to win it. This next player, Some argue he is not a dark horse, while some will argue he is. In my opinion, wide receiver for Ohio State, Marvin Harrison Jr. is a Heisman dark horse for 2023. Now, I do believe if a non-quarterback is going to win the award, it's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. But of course, if you look at the Heisman historically, it does seem to be a QB-heavy award, and that's really who usually gets it. But I do believe Marvin Harrison Jr. does have a good shot at getting it in the 23 season. I believe he's the best wide receiver returning from 22 to 23. He was a consensus All-American in 2022, a year in which he had 77 receptions for 1,263 yards, averaged 16 yards a reception, and had 14 touchdowns through the air in 13 games played for the Buckeyes. I believe he's going to take an even bigger step in his game in 2023 and really show why he's the best wide receiver in the game. My next Heisman dark horse that I have is Dillon Gabriel, Oklahoma quarterback. In his first season as a Sooner quarterback in 2022, he appeared in 12 games, in which I believe he had a very underrated season, one that I feel like should be talked about a little bit more. But of course, OU went 6-7, so people kind of ignore his stats in a sense because the team success wasn't the best. And when your team success isn't the best, it's going to be placed on the quarterback a lot of the time, even though ultimately it can be out of their control at times, which I do believe in a few games at Oklahoma for Dillon Gabriel, it was. But let's get back to his 22 campaign. 12 games played, he completed 63% of his passes. Threw for 3,168 yards, 25 touchdowns through the air compared to 6 interceptions, while also rushing for a total of 315 yards and accounting for a total of 6 rushing touchdowns. I believe 2023 is going to be a good season for Dillon Gabriel if he can stay healthy. In 2022, he did stay primarily healthy, but he did also miss 1.5 games because he went down with a concussion versus TCU and missed the game versus Texas. I believe his numbers are going to improve with another year of familiarity in this Oklahoma offense of Jeff Lebby's, since he did take some break from it since Lebby left UCF, and he's going to have his second year in the Big 12, second year at the school. I just feel like if you really look at the numbers and look at everything it's pointing in the directions that they are, I feel like this season's going to be better for Dillon Gabriel, and Oklahoma should be better as well as a team. Moving on to the next player, I have Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Sanders has played his first 2 years of his collegiate career at Jackson State, and in his most recent season in 2022, he completed 71% of his passes while throwing for 3,732 yards, 40 touchdowns compared to 6 interceptions, while accounting for a total of 6 rushing touchdowns. This move to Colorado following his dad, Deion Sanders, is going to be one that's very interesting, as all eyes are going to be on Colorado, no matter how good they are during the 2023 campaign, as it was really that way at Jackson State as well if you look at the FCS football scene, in my opinion. I think Shedeur Sanders is going to have a good 23 campaign. Do I think it's going to be a seamless transfer from the FCS level to the Power 5 level in the Pac-12? No. But I do believe he's going to have a pretty good season and impress a lot of people with his talent and skill abilities at Colorado. Now, I will say this, out of all the players, I'm not really expecting him to be as much of a Heisman finalist as some of the others, just because of the schedule that Colorado may have. It's really hard to be a Heisman finalist if your team's not necessarily successful, and you can say that about a few of the other players on this list as well, but the Pac-12 is going to be a gauntlet this year, and if Shedeur Sanders is going to be a Heisman finalist or really push for that contention, they're going to have to win most of those Pac-12 games, while obviously playing at a high level, which I believe he can do. For the final player that I'm going to be talking about in today's video, I'm going to talk about a quarterback that I feel like deserves more respect as a whole, and that's Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson. KJ Jefferson is coming off a 22 campaign in which in 11 games played for the Razorbacks, he completed 68% of his passes. Threw for 2,648 yards, 24 touchdowns through the air compared to 5 interceptions, while accounting for a total of 640 yards on the ground, averaging nearly 4 yards a carry and had 9 total rushing touchdowns. I believe KJ Jefferson is due for his biggest year of his collegiate career yet in 2023. And I think Arkansas could be a sneaky good team. Obviously, they play in the SEC, and the SEC can be very tough at times. But I believe that KJ Jefferson is going to have his best year of his collegiate career and really open some people's eyes about his game in 2023. To close off this video, if I had to predict my highest odds of players being a Heisman finalist or really making a serious run for that Heisman trophy in 2023 out of the players I mentioned today, I feel like I have to say Joe Milton because of potential-wise and that offense that Tennessee has going right now. And, of course, in my opinion, the best wide receiver in college football right now, Marvin Harrison Jr. But ultimately, the player that I do believe is going to win the Heisman is number 13 from USC going back-to-back, Caleb Williams. Well, guys, if you made this far in today's video, drop something down in the comment section below what you want to see in the future. And before you head out, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and turn those post notifications on. B. Kelly out.